This is Thomas Casale with SportsGrumblings.com, and today I'm going to look at the running back position in the NFL draft. Running back this year, interesting position because you have one really highly regarded player, but in my opinion you have a bunch of other running backs that are going to have big roles in the NFL. Maybe not every down running backs, but guys in today's NFL where there's complementary backs, there's third down backs, there's guys splitting time. I think you got a lot of talent at that position in this draft. The clear number one running back is Trent Richardson. Not only is he my top-rated running back in this draft, he's my second top-rated running back ever to come out of college behind Adrian Peterson. He's got everything teams look for in a prototypical NFL running back. Now, I know the position isn't as important as it used to be, but you get a guy with this kind of skill set, and he's hard to pass up. You're talking power, speed, balance, vision. He has every single thing to be a great NFL running back. And you know, here's the thing about Richardson. He performed well against tough defenses, and that's one of the things I look for in college. You know, I get my tapes from the NFL guy that I know, and I break those down, but I also watch a ton of college football. And if you're getting all your yards against North Texas and Akron, that's not really that impressive. Anybody can run against those teams. What I liked about Richardson was games against LSU, games against South Carolina, games against tough defenses where he grinded out yards. Because that's what you're going to have to do in the NFL. Not every game is going to be 180 yards and 3 scores. And he's one of those guys, he can get you the big play, but he can also grind out tough yards against good defenses like a Ravens or a Steelers type of team if he goes to Cleveland. That's really what impresses me about Richardson. I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 players in this draft. And you know he has to be good because he's probably not going to get out of the top 5. And a running back today that gets drafted in the top 5 is a special player. Moving on, the next couple of backs in the class, you know, are David Wilson from Virginia Tech, Doug Martin from Boise State, and Chris Polk from Washington. That's kind of the next group. I'm a big David Wilson fan. I really liked him at Virginia Tech. He's known for his speed, but the guy's got great power. Actually, in this draft, he got more yards after contact than any back, including Richardson, which is impressive. You know, he's got speed, he's got vision, a very, very dynamic back, but he has one problem. He puts the ball on the ground. And if you're a rookie running back and you fumble, that's gonna stunt your growth because you are not going to get on the field. So he's got to hang on to the football. He also wasn't a big receiver at Virginia Tech, but at the combine and his pro day, he looked good in that at catching the ball. You know, sometimes college teams just don't throw to the running backs. It's not the running back's fault, and I think that's the case with Wilson. But I really like Wilson. He's my second-rated back. Some people have Doug Martin ahead of him. I think Wilson is a first-round pick. I have 2 first-round grades in this year's draft with Richardson and Wilson. Doug Martin is a guy who's very versatile. He can do a lot of different things for you. He's a bigger back at 230, 235, can run inside. He can catch the ball, probably arguably the best receiving back in this class. Very good hands. He can block. So he's somebody that can come in right away and help a team. I don't love his upside as much as like a Wilson or a Richardson. Martin does run with his head down at times, and that concerns me because I'm very big on vision. If a running back has vision, the other stuff will come in the NFL. If you don't have vision, you can't teach that. I like Martin. I don't know if he's going to be an every down player, but he's going to be a receiving back. He can be in there in passing downs because of his blocking. You know, and maybe the Giants there at the last pick in round 1, if they're high on Martin, he can come in and kind of fill that Brandon Jacobs role for him. A running back I really like is Chris Polk out of Washington. Now, here's one guy. He's the closest thing to Richardson to me after Richardson. I mean, a guy who can come in there, carry the ball 20, 25 times a game, gets better as the game goes on, wears people out, waits for his blocks. You know, he's not a speed burner, but he's quick, he's powerful. When you're looking at tape and you say, tell me the guys that look like prototypical NFL running backs, the 2 that jump out to me would be Richardson and Polk. And you know, Polk's moving up draft boards. You hear he might sneak in at the end of the first round. I still think he goes in the second round area, but he's a guy to watch for to which team he lands. Say Cleveland goes Justin Blackmon in round 1 and passes on Richardson, and goes Polk in round 2. There's a good chance Polk's going to be their starting running back. So for fantasy purposes, he's the type of guy you want to see where he goes. Because if he goes to a team that doesn't have a lot of running backs, he could end up being a big-time rookie player for you. A player I'm in love with, and opinions kind of are all over the board on him, is Michael James out of Oregon. See, the thing with James is he is smaller. He may not he may not be that 20-25 carry back, but my argument is, how many of those guys do we have in the NFL anymore? What, 4 or 5? So I think the NFL is a copycat league, and teams saw what Darren Sproles provided for the Saints offense, and I believe teams are looking for backs like that. And LaMichael James is one of those backs. He's spectacular in the open field. He's actually a tougher inside runner than he gets credit for. I know he was an Oregon system, and they say, well, any back they put in runs for a lot of yards. Well, the other 2 backs are Kenyon Barner, he's going to be a top pick next year, and the Black Mamba, DeAnthony Thomas, who might be the fastest human being on the planet. So it's not like they're putting in scrubs when they take James out. Also, when the game's in doubt and when they needed to run the ball up the middle, LaMichael James was the guy in the game. He's tough. He's been injured, and he's come back the next week. There's a lot of things to like about LaMichael James. He's going to start out as a 3rd down back. I think, like I said, he can be that Darren Sproles kind of player for you. But I think as time goes on, his role can increase in the NFL. I mean, you just don't find a lot of players that can do what he can do, whose feet move the way his feet move. He's just a special kind of player to me, and a 2nd-round pick with LaMichael James, I think, is good value in this draft. My favorite player in this draft at any position is Ronnie Hillman, the running back for San Diego State. I watch him, and I don't see where he's too small. Okay, he's 200. He's the same size as Tiki Barber, and that's kind of who he reminds me of. He has more straight line speed than Barber. I mean, the guy was a big play machine in college. But the other thing I like is the way he ran between the tackles. He never lost yards. I read another fantasy site said he dances too much and loses yards in the backfield. That's an inaccurate statement. You don't have to like Ronnie Hillman, but you sit down with me, you watch tape, and you watch his games, and you tell me where he's losing yards in the backfield. I want to see the plays, because I've seen over 100 plays. I've seen 3 full games with Ronnie Hillman, and that guy does not lose yards. It's such a good part of his game that the announcers even talk about how he doesn't lose yardage, how he's always going forward. So you have to be careful when you read these guys who claim that they get tape. You know what they're getting? They're getting video things on Yahoo.com that you can watch. The stuff I got was from an NFL guy who breaks things down, and it's different. And so these guys who tell you that they're getting tape are just lying to you, because Ronnie Hillman does not lose yardage. I can guarantee you that. He's a tough guy. He's a big play guy. This is someone, I think, if he gets into the right system, it's not going to be just a complimentary back. He's going to be an every down NFL running back. Like I said, he's my top sleeper. He's my favorite player, probably going that round 3 to 4 area. I think he could be this year's DeMarco Murray if he goes to the right team. Starts as a backup. By the time the season's over with, he's the starting running back heading into 2013. Another back that's pretty intriguing is Isaiah Pead out of Cincinnati. Again, a smaller guy, but he runs bigger. Kind of reminds me of LaShawn McCoy a little bit. You can't tell his size when you're watching him because he's a tough runner. Ray Rice, when he came out, people thought he was too small, but he didn't look small. I mean, when you watch guys on tape, you can tell if their size is going to be a problem. Some guys look small when they run. Some guys you can't tell. And Pead, to me, is one of those guys who just plays bigger. And again, a lot of teams like Pete. I heard the Steelers like him. That's a perfect landing spot for him. With Rashard Mendenhall out, you give Redmond the bigger back carries. You got Pete coming in, catching passes. That would be a nice landing spot for him. So again, Isaiah Pete is a guy you want to see where he goes, because he can bring a lot of things to an offense. So here's an interesting prospect out of Texas A&M, Cyrus the Virus Gray. This guy, every time you watch him, he looks spectacular. Okay, now he shared time with Christian Michael at A&M. Both backs were highly recruited. But when you watch Cyrus Gray, every time he plays, you're looking at a big play back. You're looking at a guy who just does things on the field. And here's another guy whose stock I know is rising as we get closer to the NFL draft. And again, when you look at these guys, I don't look at them anymore as this guy Adrian Peterson, because they don't have Adrian Petersons anymore. Like I said, that's why Trent Richardson is a top 5 pick, because he's as close to Adrian Peterson as you're going to see. And those guys, you're just not going to use them anymore. I mean, look at Mark Ingram. Look what he did as a rookie. I mean, was he an awful football player? No, but he's not going to get 30 carries a game in the Saints offense. And that's how you got to look at these kinds of backs now. And Cyrus Gray is somebody who can come in to a team. He can add some value as a receiver. A guy gets hurt, he come in. He can carry the ball 15, 20 times if you need him. So there's a back, a 3rd, 4th, 5th round guy with some versatility that I think is going to surprise some people. A bigger back that I like in this draft is Terrence Ganaway from Baylor. You don't see too many 240, 245-pound guys in this draft, and he is a battering ram. He played with Robert Griffin, and he kind of got overshadowed. But he had a nice season for Baylor. He's projected in kind of that 5th round area. And I think a team like the Giants, if they don't go for a running back early, you get a Ganaway late 4th, 5th round area, replace Brandon Jacobs. To me, that's a good pick. He kind of reminds me of Natrone Means with the way he runs. He collides, he keeps his balance, he gets more yards. He ran like a 4.6, 4.7 at the combine. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, this guy, his game isn't straight line speed. He's not gonna burn by you. But a guy who can get 5, 6, 7 yards, move the pile. Again, these guys have value. If you have a smaller type back like a Ray Rice or an Ahmad Bradshaw, you bring in a Ganaway, he's going to have fantasy value as a rookie. He's going to have value for your team as a rookie. So another guy I really like. And 2 other guys I'm going to talk about, Bernard Pierce from Temple, another bigger back. I like what he did in the MAC. He didn't play against a lot of tough defenses, but I think he showed some promise. So there's a guy, another big guy, if he goes to a team like the Giants or the Ravens, looking for that bigger back, could surprise. And a guy I just don't like at all is Lamar Miller from Miami. Just a straight line runner. He's got no moves. He does. If you open up a hole, if you open up the line like the Red Sea, part it like the Red Sea, this guy will run right through it. And who he reminds me of is Felix Jones of the Cowboys. I mean, as you see, I'm a Dallas fan, and people got it all wrong with Felix Jones. They think he dances too much. You know what Felix Jones' problem is? He runs in a straight line. The guy has no moves. He has no wiggle at all. So if the line parts, Felix Jones is fast. He's going to run straight. If it doesn't part, he's going to run into somebody. He doesn't have any vision. He doesn't have any movement. That's what I see with Lamar Miller. I see a straight ahead runner that doesn't look, doesn't have vision, can't change the way he's running, doesn't have a jump step, doesn't really do anything. So if you can run in a straight line to the end zone, then Lamar Miller's okay. But if he has to change on the fly, he's not going to do much for you. And and he is dropping. You have to remember, when the draft process started, people thought this guy was a first-round pick, and I just laughed because there's no way is he a first-round pick. And he's already down to that 3rd round area now. And I think you could see him fall even further, because you watch this guy on tape, and you don't see someone that looks like he's going to be successful in the NFL. So that's my breakdown of the running back position. Like I said, a lot of very intriguing backs, guys I think that can have a role in the NFL. How big a role they have, like for fantasy purposes early on, it's going to depend on where they go. So watch these guys like Hillman, LaMichael James, Ganaway. See where they go. See if that's a good fit for them. If it is, they could be fantasy sleepers this year. And you can catch all my draft, all my fantasy stuff at my blog, thepigskinguy.com. You can also catch it on sportsgrumblings.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at thepigskinguy. Ton of fantasy stuff, ton of draft stuff, everything you need for the upcoming season.